fallen leaves tell a story.
Hi, I'm Zayle. Have you ever thought that Elden Ring gives the player way too much for free, and that you would really prefer it if you had to pay microtransactions every few minutes just to keep playing the game? If you haven't, that would make you a normal person, but unfortunately I'm not in that group. I got this idea for a challenge run when I was reminded about a quote regarding players paying $1 each time they wanted to reload their gun in a game, and that made me wonder, what else could we charge players for? I've never done a challenge run before, but I have played quite a bit of Elden Ring, so I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm going to be explaining the run for the next 3 minutes now, so if you'd rather just skip ahead to the video, here's a timestamp. Let's start by laying out the rules. Rule number 1. This is a randomized run, so all of the items, enemies, bosses, and fog gates have been randomized. To do this, we're using the dungeon crawl mode of the fog gate randomizer, as well as the item and enemy randomizer. Rule number 2 is the most important rule in this run. I have to pay for almost everything in this run. This includes upgrading my Estus Flask, changing my Ashes of War, activating Great Runes, summoning NPCs or Spirit Ashes using the bell, memorizing spells, unlocking talisman slots, fast traveling to graces which we have previously unlocked, unlocking those same graces, purchasing the ability to roll, the ability to heavy attack, unlocking Torrent, the spirit horse deer thing, unlocking merchants, going through new fog gates for the first time, and, of course, opening loot boxes. Because the game is randomized, we don't actually know what's inside these boxes, giving us a truly immersive gameplay experience. There's a couple other things I wanted to include in the challenge, like having to pay a small amount of runes every time I attacked, but I don't know how to mod Elden Ring and I'm too poor to pay somebody else to do it for me. Rule number 3. If I accidentally do something that I'm not allowed to do, such as rolling before I've paid to unlock the ability, I have to immediately delete all of my runes or do whatever I can to rectify the mistake as quickly as possible. Rule number 4. I can only use runes that I pick up on the ground or that I get from killing enemies throughout the natural progression and exploration of the areas. In short form, this means no grinding. If I'm totally stuck and have no way to progress through the game without killing some enemies to get runes, then I'm allowed to grind until I have enough runes to progress, but I'm not allowed to grind for unnecessary things like levels or the ability to roll. And lastly, rule number 5. I'm poor, and so I wasn't able to buy any DLC for this game. That means we have to start the challenge as a wretch, as the other classes are definitely locked behind microtransactions. The goal of this challenge is simple. We have to beat the game while following the rules. In order to do that, we have to find and beat the boss that's in Malekith's arena in order to burn away the thorns blocking the door to the final boss arena, which we also have to find since everything is random. It's possible that the arenas could be really deep in the middle of a maze of areas and we'll struggle to find any of them. Here's the settings that I used for the fog gate randomizer, and the settings I used for the item and enemy randomizer will be pinned in my Discord server if you want to check those out. A link to both mods will be in the video description below. And with that out of the way, let's get to the challenge.
Bruh.
So right away we have a problem. I'd completely forgotten that before we can get to the first area of the game, we have a gate that we have to pay for. We don't have any way of getting runes here, so is the challenge over? No, it's not. While creating our characters, on a whim I actually took the Lands Between rune as my starting gift. Normally I take the Golden Seed to make up for my skill issues, but I figured since we'll be paying for things, having a bit of extra cash could come in handy. Right, first... Oh, Come on, man. Yeah, so with a bit of characteristic bad luck, there's nothing here for us. This means the only option we have is to spend the last little bit of our starting cash and head through the second gate. Really hope the second area has more things for us. So the first real area of the game that we find ourselves in is Nokron, which I think is actually pretty lucky since there are enemies, items, and multiple ways for us to go to leave this area. The weapon that we started with kinda sucks. I'm honestly not a fan of stabby, pokey sticks, but hopefully we can find something better soon. For now, we just run around the area, explore a bit, pick up all the items that we can come across. We kill some enemies here and there, but honestly all the enemies here are worthless in terms of runes, so really we're relying on any rune pickups that we might find, which we do find quite a few of. Now we could have locked the ability to run behind runes as well as the ability to roll, but I decided not to, mainly so that running around these areas wouldn't take us ages at the very start of the game. It's a good thing too, since at this point all I can really do to fight enemies is do sprinting attacks. We do accidentally roll a couple of times while exploring, but since we don't get many runes from these enemies, nothing of great value was lost. We also find the Blade of Calling while running around, which is awesome since it's one of my favourite weapons in the game. It's not quite as powerful as the dark version of it, but I have a soft spot for holy weapons and I just love the way this thing looks. We can't use it yet, and since we don't have any graces, we're not able to level up to where we can use it, but the stat requirements are fairly low, and after we also find the Faith Talisman in this same area, we'll be able to use it as soon as we just get 3 levels in Dexterity. We also find the first loot box of the run, which, drumroll please, has pants! Most of the loot boxes we find throughout the challenge are going to be, well, frankly completely trash, so I won't actually be showing most of them, but I will show you a few here and there that made me laugh. After running around and collecting everything that I can get my hands on, it's finally time for us to try some more gates. I light the last fire and head over to the warp point. And it's a dead end. Immediately. We're gonna have to get used to these. There's a lot of them in this challenge. Because we don't have a great rune, we can't even get into the Divine Tower, so our only way to escape from here is an item that the Fog Gate randomizer gives us, which allows us to return to the very starting point without losing any of our runes. After dying an embarrassing number of times to this one enemy, and then accidentally going back to the start of the game again, we finally tried the second gate. This one? Oh no. Please, please just be the arena. Don't actually be Melania. Don't make me fight her. I really don't want to fight her, especially not as the first boss, man. Thankfully, the game heard my pitiful cries for help and took mercy on us with a snake. Since it gives us the Serpent Hunter Spear, this should be a piece of... I rolled. After letting myself be pounded through the ground and into the void in penance for my mistake, we respawn at the door. Thankfully the Fog Gate randomizer adds Stakes of Marika to most boss fight arenas, so we don't have to run all the way back every single time we die. Thank God, otherwise I think I would have lost my mind at some of the fights later on in this challenge. It's actually surprisingly difficult to play Elden Ring without the ability to roll. Who could have guessed? With a slight strategy adjustment, namely just sticking closer to the giant snake. We got him third try, no problem. Taking out the giant snake was actually fantastic for us. This room might be a dead end, but this actually gives us access to our very first grace. Using 2 of the 7,000 runes that we got from him, we can unlock it straight away. And this is where Melina shows up. This means we can finally level up, and she also immediately takes us to the Round Table Hold. The first order of business upon arrival was leveling up. We immediately got 3 levels in Dex so that we're able to use the Blade of Calling. We didn't have to pay to unlock this table because the grace is already unlocked when you first arrive in this area. Just one little freebie for us, I guess. After looking around, we found that there's a fog gate leading to the area where you normally jump off the balcony. And downstairs we actually found Kale the merchant. A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. We had exactly 1 rune arc from our exploring earlier, so we used it to see what he had for offer. He had another rune arc, which was fantastic, as well as the crafting kit and a somber smithing stone 1. We bought all 3 of them, took that rune arc upstairs, and immediately used it to unlock the blacksmith. With that out of the way, we got a small upgrade to our knife, and then decided to explore the fog gate. And in case you were wondering, I had considered using our rune pickups that we'd found at this point in order to unlock the ability to roll, but after thinking about it for a short while, I decided that it would be a bad idea. We didn't know when we would find more runes, and so I didn't want to risk getting in a situation where we weren't able to pay for a gate and had to grind enemies in order to pay to progress. So aside from a few essentials like getting the 3 levels required to equip the Blade of Calling, the crafting kit, and a somber stone to make the blade a little bit better, we didn't spend any of the runes. And with that waste of 1500 runes, it was back to the start to do some hardcore parkour. I managed to pay for it before I died, so I'm saying it counts. Up here we found the scam chest that we're not allowed to open because we're not destined yet. But there's also a gate that we can go through, which takes us to a new area. So that means new area exploration. Hit it! At the top here, I figure, since we're rich anyway, we might as well spend 5,000 runes to unlock Torrent. Add another 1,500 runes to go through the door, and away we go. Unfortunately, since this is a dead end, we do have to go back the way we came from. We did make our money back, and then some extra, so that's always nice. You might want to remember the name of this place as well, because it could be important later. And if we look at how far we've come in the challenge so far, we can see that we've... well, this is awkward. Don't worry. Far more important things happened in the start of the challenge than later on in the challenge, so the rest of the video will go by a lot quicker than this beginning part. But with nothing else to do here, it's back to Shifra. You've got to be kidding me with all these divine towers, man. We bust this zombie pinata, make our way to the top, but all we get is a golden seed. There's nowhere else for us to go from here, so it's back to Shifra again. The next place that we check is this sending gate here, and this takes us...
What? What the f-
After running around for a bit trying to figure out where else we could go, I remembered that this side path exists leading to these aqueducts. We made our way through these, got to the end, and it's also a dead end. Beating the boss wasn't strictly necessary, but we did get 5 bewitching branches, which can come in really useful in very specific situations. We head back outside, where I accidentally interact with this grace without thinking about it, so we pay for it, dump some of our runes into vigor and dexterity, and then we head back to Round Table Hold. we make sure to pay EA our 1000 rune fee for fast travelling, and then we go ahead and use our rune arc that we found to unlock the Twin Maiden husks. This gives us access to a whole bunch of items, including the Wondrous Physic, a lantern, some smithing stones, stone sword keys, and this wet blade that we buy. Then we stop by the blacksmith to upgrade our weapons a little bit. We head downstairs and use one of our stone sword keys to get access to this loot box that we still have to pay for. And using the rune arc that we find inside, we unlock the Miracle Man and buy Flame Grant Me Strength. Then we memorize 2 of the incantations that we know, making sure to pay the 1500 runes for each memory slot we used. The only seal that we found so far does require 13 faith, so we put a few levels in that since we've got so many runes, and that's where I called it for the day. On day 2, we head back to Shifra and get the final sending gate. This actually takes us to Tornado Land, which has multiple ways for us to go from here, and considering there's no other paths for us to take at this point, it must be the right way. I'm much better at editing than I am at talking, so... So, yeah, we found ourselves in the sewers. Going through them wasn't actually too bad. It was a lot easier than it is normally. Aside from the pipes that were clogged up with enemies, a lot of the things here are less annoying to fight than the ones that are supposed to be there. So aside from this soldier that we found who has mind powers, we made it to the bottom fairly easily. Alive, I mean, not like that. At the end of the hall, the gate that would normally lead to Moog's boss room instead took us to a cave. Since this is a cave, there's actually an exit at the other end, but you see this guy? This guy right here. No, not the boss. These ones. Yeah, these little buggers. Oh boy, were they a pain. You see this? You see how ridiculous the damage from these little minions is? We even went back to spend one of our Lord's runes on a whole bunch of levels. You can see how much that helped us. Yeah, you can see it didn't help at all. However, I did have an idea. If you remember earlier, we actually got some bewitching branches from one of the bosses that we killed. If you don't know what a bewitching branch does, it lets you shoot out a little puff of smoke. It's a one-time use item. But any non-boss enemies hit by that puff of smoke will fight on your side for, I don't know, some amount of time. My hope is that it will be useful in this fight by making some of the minions fight for us, because the bosses themselves are pretty weak, but oh my god, the minions do so much damage. After letting myself die to reset since the enemies had decided to be aggroed on me from the very beginning, we got our first attempt at the Bewitching branch. We managed to hit 3 of them, which is pretty good, but unfortunately the rest of the enemies finished them off very quickly, and so they weren't a lot of help in the fight. We died, but 4 more branches means 4 more attempts. On the next attempt, we actually hit 4 of them, and this went much better. Even though they didn't kill the boss like would have been amazing, they did distract the other minions, and they had enough of a number advantage to actually take out most of them for us. So all we had to deal with was this one minion at the end, and then the bosses were all ours. Unfortunately, we were already in the first noodle of the run. That's what I call chains of areas in the Faultgate randomizer, where there's only one way in and one way out, and it ends up taking you really deep into the enemy scaling, without any actual results or possible paths for you to take. We did find a couple of really useful items in this noodle, like the Death's Poker for example, which I have a feeling may come in handy later. We also lost a bunch of runes, and found this fantastic loot box. Seven rooms deep into the noodle, we actually find the Fire Giants arena. There is a way out of here, so we should go through. The boss is just the Red Wolf from the Academy though, so it'll be a piece of cake.
to hide away. Can you hear? War is coming, beckoning our fate. This is the day that we stand up. This is the day we fight. We'll take our pace, we won't give in. Our victory's in sight. Only a sword in our hand, but we enter the lion's den. We're not waiting for a war. We bring the war to them.
Wait, but that's not supposed to happen? Okay, let's hold on. Let's try this again. Go back, go back.
We enter the lion's den. We're not waiting for a war. We bring the war to them. We bring the war to them.
I'm now proud of what I did, but at that point I'd been losing my mind for the last 3 days, and it had to be done. So we make our way up the chain. We cast Melina into the fire to burn the Erd tree for reasons, I suppose. It won't actually get rid of the thorns in our way, so it's just for fun. And then we find ourselves in Mogwyn Palace. Now, pulling that stunt and paying for God mode, that's only going to work once. I don't have the pocket money to do that again, so from here on out, we're on our own. Making our way through the palace, we found quite a few big runes, so that's nice. We also got a huge payout from that fight, but that's dirty money. At the top, we head through the gate that would normally lead to Mohg's fight, and we find ourselves in... space? It did take a few tries to beat the space goblin and his friend, but we eventually took care of them, and we found ourselves back where we came from. Yeah, so this is meant to warp you somewhere else, but apparently it randomized to its own location. So that means this is a dead end, and we don't have any other way to go. On the way up to Mohg's door though, we had found a merchant who was selling some useful items. One of these items was the Pureblood's Knight's Medal. Normally this would let you teleport to Mogwyn's palace, which is where we are right now, but it's randomized. So I figure the best thing to do right now would just be to see where it goes. It took us to Deeproot Depths, which, despite its size, only has one way out for us. On our way through, we unlocked a bunch of graces, collected a bunch of items, but there wasn't really much down here that mattered. Finding runes and upgrades is nice, but we definitely have enough to pay for doors now, so our main goal is finding the path to the mandatory bosses. Eventually we found ourselves at the fog gate, which would normally lead to Fear, but it dumped us in another dead end. All we got was a couple of smithing stones, and now we weren't sure where to go anymore. While exploring the palace again to make sure that there wasn't any paths that we missed, we got invaded by this nerd wielding a pizza cutter, which, appropriately, was right before I was going to go to dinner to eat pizza. We invited him to take a bath since he was a bit stinky, and then we got invaded immediately again, so that was cool, but we also gave her the old splooshy runaround. And then a third invader showed up, so I graciously gave him the win and decided to look elsewhere. After a bit of thinking, I remembered that we hadn't checked the third gate leading to the Godskin Duo boss fight back in Farum Azula, so we went back there. And of course it was the right way to go. So the last several hours had been for nothing, including the boss fight against the Firefox. Yay, I'm so excited. This location actually has an insane number of gates, because both the front and back side of every single fog gate is different. That means if you go in a door from one direction, it'll take you to location A, but if you go from the other side, it'll take you somewhere else. I mean, here, you can listen to what I said when I realized how many gates there were for us to explore now. Oh, no, it is the same building. It's the outside of those same fog gates. Oh, frick, we've got so many gates to explore here. Oh, why do I get the feeling that the challenge has only just started? The first 3 gates outside aren't anything amazing. The first one takes us to a different area of the capital. We find a great rune and the smithing stone that we were missing to upgrade the Death's Poker, but it's a dead end. The second one takes us to Volcano Manor, and since the third one also takes us to Volcano Manor but is just a dead end straight away, we decide to go through that second one and jump off the balcony. 2,000 runes to unlock the Grace, and we make our... okay, not this way, not this way. Outside we find a merchant very precariously placed on this ledge, and after chucking a rune arc at him, he sells us a couple of golden seeds along with a stone sword key. A minute later, we accidentally walk in on a party we're not invited to, and then I make the biggest brain play of all time. Yeah, oops. Heading down the elevator to the back gate of this church, we head to the next area. Straight away there's a merchant who needs one of our rune arcs, so we buy some new clothes and unlock the Grace next to him. At this point, I was streaming the run on Twitch, so I had people keeping me company while going through these long areas. I think it's a big reason I was able to hold on to some of my sanity. I don't know when I'll do another challenge run, but I stream semi-often, and I'd love to see you there. Right now, our flask is about as effective as slapping a chicken to cook it, so finding a sacred tier here by this Grace was fantastic. We immediately spend 2,000 runes to unlock the Grace, 2,000 to upgrade our flask, and then we move on. I was pretty excited to find Lion's Claw, but unfortunately we didn't have any decent weapons to put it on, and I actually didn't end up using it for the entire run. In the next area we have the shortest boss fight of all time. Yep. And we got a smithing stone from the loot box that they were guarding. This is a dead end. And by the way, that frame rate, yeah, that's not my computer or my recording. That's actually the game. We do find out what's causing that low frame rate later on, and it's kind of weird. 1,000 runes later, we're heading back to the hub. So the next path doesn't take us anywhere useful, and my dumb butt didn't kick down this ladder before we jumped off, so we have to spend another 1,000 runes to fast travel like 2 feet back to the Grace. The next gates to try are inside this place, so we jump over the balcony and then... right. We forgot that there was a boss fight in here. Caught off guard, we actually did really bad in this fight. We did manage to survive, but only with the tiniest sliver of health, and we used all of our flasks. Since we were so badly injured, we spent 2,000 runes to unlock the Grace. It dropped a golden seed as well, so we spent another 2,000 to upgrade our flasks. The charges themselves still aren't very effective, but having more is always nice. And then it was time to start exploring all the gates in here. And I think you know the drill by now, so... Since the other gates were nothing but dead ends and Volcano Manor, which was also a dead end, it was time to check the last one.
It. Okay, alright. Fine. Whatever, game. So we are now in the place that we just looked at from the other side of that fog gate.
There was nothing in Volcano Manor for us except a few items, so we raised the bridge and just went into the church.
Ah, we can say hi to Rani. Maybe. If her tower isn't a fog gate, which it very well might be.
It wasn't. This let us say hi to everyone's favorite puppet and officially start our questline. This meant that we actually had permission now to go and check out her chest, which is far less interesting than it sounds, and introduced an interesting possibility. See, there's another tower in the area next to Rani's tower, which is blocked up until you find and bring Rani the Fingerslayer blade. There's a sending gate inside, which means it might be a requirement for us to find the Fingerslayer blade and give it to Rani in order to progress the run, if that sending gate takes us to the place that we're supposed to go to. It stayed on my mind for quite a while, but since we hadn't found the blade, it was just time to keep exploring. I discovered a path here off this ledge which led down into Carrier Manor. It wasn't blocked by a fog gate, so that means we had access. At the top of Carrier Manor, we went through the gate leading to Loretta. Of course it didn't take us to Loretta, and instead we ended up in a pretty easy boss fight. After the fight, we got pooped out of this loot box. And then we found another loot box? Oh wait, no, it's a teleporter. So it's not a loot box, it's Melania. Hi Melania. Well this is awkward. Now, did you notice in the 0.1 seconds before she killed me? Yeah, that's a fog gate. Which means that if we're really unlucky, we're gonna have to go through that. Hopefully we're not unlucky though, and we can find the right way to go somewhere else. Heading back to where we teleported to Melania, there was another loot box. Except it's not a loot box. Instead, it's a loot box. With that reasonable microtransaction behind us, we went to go check out the front door of Carrier Manor. On the way we actually found Black Flame Tornado, which is a really good Ash of War. At the front was our man Ichi, who is amazing and sold us both a Sacred Tear and some golden seeds. So we immediately paid to upgrade our flasks, and we also upgraded some of our weapons. I'd been keeping the Death's Poker upgraded, even though we weren't using it, just in case we ran into a boss which was too strong for me to beat with my favoured weapons. Now we actually found a remembrance ages ago, and we hadn't been using it for runes because I'd wanted to see what I could get from the Finger Reader lady. So we went back to Round Table Hold, got the Dexterity Talisman for our remembrance, and then I blew pretty much all of our runes on leveling up so that I could equip the Cypher Pada. Now, I know I probably shouldn't have done that, considering we didn't really use it for very long, but it's one of my favourite weapons and is actually the first weapon in the game that I used aside from the Wretch Club. In high spirits after upgrading a bunch of our stuff, we went back to Ichi and tried the sending gate next to him. The gate took us to a stinky cave, which we ran around in for a while, trying to look for the way out. And then we realized
The boss room. I'm not sure it's possible, actually, to get back the entrance of this place. think it's up there. Yeah, which would make this a dead end, so we don't need to explore this place. It's fine. Because we can't get back up there. Is dead end, which means I have to go somewhere else. Which means... means what? It's millennia? Means millennia, or it means find this Finger Slayer blade.
So without any clue as to where the location of the Finger Slayer blade is, it seemed like the only way to progress was to go through millennia. Now, despite having played most of the Souls games, I think the only one I haven't played is Dark Souls 2. I've never ever had to sit down and just get good at a fight before. I've always found other ways of beating it, usually using magic or some cheesy strategy. So, I guess this will be kind of like my first time.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's the problem. I finally beat phase 1. And now I have to beat phase 2. Oh, that's still such a huge milestone. Let me tell you, all these times fighting Melania, my heart rate 100% normal. I even kept it completely normal right up until the last moment where I actually dealt the final blow. And then my heart rate just absolutely skyrocketed. Oh my god. Alright, phase 2. Phase 2 is gonna be an issue. But if that's not a clear indicator that progress is being made, then I don't know what is.
So yeah, after 190 attempts, I finally made it to phase 2 for the first time. I was definitely going to have to get better at dodging Waterfowl Dance, as she always used it at least once before hitting phase 2. And then she could use it in phase 2 as well. But emboldened by my flame of ambition, I was not about to back down.
can't. No, no way. No, no, I'm gonna die first. Please. Yes. Oh my god, we did it. I really didn't want to end with a trade. I felt like I was doing so well, but I just got a little bit too close to the flower again. 97,000.
After 3 days and about 8 hours of fighting, we'd finally beaten Melania. We spent as much of the runes that we got on levels as we could, aside from spending 2,000 to use that sacred tier we got, and then we headed through the next gate. I was very excited to see where it took us. And it took us to a cave. Okay, alright, interesting. We died here a couple times, but we made it through without too much trouble. And then at the end, we got a boss room. Wait, hold on.
We finally frickin' beat Melania. Unfortunately, this is a dead end. I really hope it's not a dead end.
So, yep, it was a dead end. This means the best thing that we found was a sacred tier, which is pretty good, but it was still disappointing that we didn't actually have to go this way. As it had been such a long time since we looked for any gates, and I couldn't remember which ones we might have missed, we ran around aimlessly for a while trying to figure out where to go. I did make this cool jump across to the mainland from Rani's place, where we found a twin blade. Sadly it wasn't my favourite one, but a twin blade is a twin blade and I love them all. Unfortunately this was the open world, so we weren't really supposed to be there, so we quickly headed back. Eventually my brain did turn back on, and we remembered that there was a catacombs I hadn't finished exploring. When we were there last time I got bullied so hard by a Crucible Knight that I gave up and blocked the memory from my mind. Oops. We headed back there, and then we found ourselves in a bit of a noodle, so that took us through a cave, and then a tunnel, and then a deer, and then a castle, and then we found ourselves at school. This is where we found our third talisman pouch, which was an amazing thing to find, and we immediately spent 5,000 runes to unlock it. And we found this merchant who had some nice odds and ends, so we gave him a bunch of runes for his stuff. We checked the other gate here as well, but there was just a boss, and somehow it was even more brain dead than I am, so that wasn't any challenge at all. So, with no other paths before us, we enrolled ourselves in Hogwarts. The teachers weren't very friendly, so it took some convincing for them to let us in. And then once we did get in, the students were also pretty mean to us. They kept making fun of me for not owning the DLC. So I told them kindly to shut their faces, and we moved on. I will be honest, I was expecting more witches or wizards at magic school, but I guess they just let anyone in these days. It's pretty disgraceful. We did make it to class on time, but all the bullying had really gotten to me, and yeah. So we ended up back where we belong, in hell. Unfortunately, hell is a dead end, and we have a challenge to complete. So we told Death thanks, but no thanks, and we went back to school. After class, we got acquainted with one of our fellow students. You see this? Everyone, this is Imogen. Imogen's a bitch. You see what I mean? After trying to resolve our differences in a civilized manner, we instead ran crying to the headmaster. But Erdtree Burial Rick told us to suck it up and he doesn't have time to deal with bullying. So we said, no you, and decided that the school isn't a good fit for us. So after dropping out of school, we once again didn't know where to go. We tried retracing some of our steps, and then we got anxiety climbing the ladder. And then we went back to the capital on a whim. As soon as we arrived in the capital though, I had a thought. Rare, I know, but I did have a thought. This gave us access to the entirety of the rest of the capital and several gates. Surely this has to be the right way to go. So obviously we weren't sure of it at the time, but this was the right way to go, so we'd finally started to make some real progress. Behind door number 1 was Imogen's cousin, Brittany, and behind door number 2 was a big shirtless man who abused me. Honestly, I don't think I've ever felt so bullied by Louis before. But the arena being tiny and not having sides actually really changed the fight. We managed to win, but I took a lot more damage than I should have, and I almost got slam dunked into the void a few times. Sadly, we can't actually get to the castle from here, otherwise we'd have access to a couple more gates. But the castle would probably suck with all the randomized enemies anyway, so probably not a pleasant place to visit. The gate here took us to some catacombs, which took us to... But the castle would probably suck with all the randomized enemies anyway, so probably not a pleasant place to visit. Frick. At least we get another 2 sacred tears to immediately use, which means our flask is finally more effective than just slapping a band-aid on the bloody stump of your arm after it got bitten off by an angry gerbil. We made sure to open the main gate first, before checking the side door, which was a good thing since we didn't have the key and couldn't progress that way. After being locked in a dark room with a random skeleton, we found the ring that will let us complete Rani's questline. I recently learned that you actually don't have to do any of her questline, you just have to take this ring to the final cave, which you can normally only do by completing the questline, but because the mod that we're using unlocks random open world graces for us, we can actually go there later if we want to. Going into the castle proper was just as horrible as I expected. So I hid near the gate leading to the Divine Tower since enemies won't come in. More catacombs. Yay. This hand right here was the single biggest cause of frustration that I'd had in several hours of gameplay. Way more frustrating than Melania. I actually really enjoyed fighting her. Seriously, I don't think a single other enemy that could have been placed in this spot would be more annoying to try and get past than this hand. EA really outdid themselves with this one. Past Wannabe Master Hand though was actually a second fog gate in addition to the boss gate that's normally in all catacombs. So there were actually 2 paths leading out of here. I decided to explore the boss gate first, not sure why since that meant I'd have to go back past the hand again, and it took us to another castle. Maybe the princess is finally in this one. So at this point we were actually in what I like to call the Mega Noodle. I won't show you the place names, but this is what it looks like on the map. And we're here, and we need to go in this direction. So, let's see what we find. And that's the end of the 2 bosses that have everyone obsessed with their feet. But man, I knew that pictures on the internet sold for a lot of money, but 200,000 runes? That's ridiculous. From here we end up in another boss arena with a cutscene. And at this point we're really deep in the Mega Noodle, so any boss here is going to have crazy high scaling. Hey, it's the big guy. How can you not love Placidusax? I mean, he's a giant dragon with 3 heads that shoots friggin' laser beams. That's cool as heck. And we almost got him first try, thanks to our Black Flame Tornado. We're well prepared for his high HP pool, but unfortunately I got swiped by a big old dragon booty out of nowhere. On the second try, I did a lot worse, actually. Yeah, he kind of slammed me into a wall and breathed his hot breath in my... I mean... Huh? What? On the third try, we did much, much better. And at the end, he got stuck on this wall, so it was an easy finish.
I can see it, as clear as day. Coming of our dynasty.
We got another 200,000 runes from this one, by the way. That just shows how crazy high the enemy scaling here is. We threw some chump change at our EA overlords to unlock the Grace, and then we put all of our runes into levels. With a respectable 40 vigor now, I'm sure we can take any hits the enemies might throw at us. In the next room we find... There's no one here? Oh, hey Moog, how you doing? We just came from your place. Did you know that Placidusax is... Holy crap! Yeah, so... The scaling here was so much worse than I realized. This nerd was doing more than half our health with every single hit, and his infinite attack range was, fair and balanced. After about 10 minutes of trying to fight him, I decided to go somewhere else. I didn't want to get sucked into another fight that took hours only to learn that it was a dead end, so I had other paths to explore first. Even just the regular enemies at this point were crazy strong. I was actually kind of hoping that the final boss wouldn't be down here, not because the boss itself would be scary, but because if there were any other bosses between us and the end, it would be very difficult to get to it. Eventually I made it here.
Okay, finally made it through that garbage. Be nice if there was a Grace, so I don't have to run back all that distance. Okay, yeah, this works. As long as I don't do a stupid and fall in a hole before I get to the Grace. That is really upsetting. I rolled away from it, and it was like, no, I don't care. Fuck you.
Yeah, I fell in a hole. Further down the path towards the Mimic Arena, we find a merchant. Unfortunately, we actually don't have a rune arc this time to unlock him straight away. We could have gone back and bought some from like the round table hold, but since it costs 1,000 runes to fast travel each time, it's kind of annoying, and I just figured if he's selling something important, we'll find it later. So the next area is another Divine Tower, but this time it's the interior, and it's a little more useful than just being stuck on the outside. We can't reach the top to activate our Great Runes, unfortunately. And the more eagle-eyed among you might notice these 3 gates here. And you might be thinking to yourself, fantastic, 3 more gates for Zayle to explore. Surely this can't be a dead end now. But Yeah, I didn't notice them. At the bottom of the tower, we found our way into the most disgusting boss room in the entire challenge so far. Like, for real, I tried this a handful of times, died instantly every single time, and then gave up. There was no way I was doing this. Even Melania was more fair than this room. Oh god, not you again. The side gate behind the hand was unfortunately a dead end, and just led us to another boss room. So we bribed the watchdogs with some treats made of shiny rock, and the fight was a piece of cake. So we went back and continued our way down the Mega Noodle. The next part that we took actually took us to Redman Castle. Or at least, it took us to the little area at the end of it where you all get hyped to bully a war veteran and his overpowered horse. Going through the main gate just put us in another catacombs because, you know, we didn't have enough of those already. I seriously didn't realize how many frigging catacombs there were going to be in this challenge, so if I ever do one again, I'm definitely not including them in the randomizer. So you might recognize this poor frame rate from earlier in the video. Yeah, we experienced them when we were in the boss room of the same catacombs that we're in right now. And this is where we actually find out what's causing it. It's this chicken. Yep, I don't know, there's just something about large enemies in small spaces. I've noticed it several times when playing randomizers in the past. It always seems to happen when a big enemy with lots of little bits of hair or feathers or something is inside a wall. The only explanation that I can think of is that the game physics is trying to calculate the hitbox of all of the little bits of cloth flapping around while they're stuck inside the wall, and it just grinds everything to a halt. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas on what could be the cause of this. So, after I died in this catacomb a bunch of times, we decided to go somewhere else first before committing to completing it. The first gate that we checked after that was actually the second half of school. This let me run around on the rooftops and collect every single shiny thing I could get my hands on. We also found this loot box that just paid for itself. Yeah, these things are a scam. But aside from the free loot box, this was where we finally made our first bit of progress in the run. Yeah, you heard me. Our first bit of progress. If you remember, the only goal of this challenge is to beat the game, and there's only 2 bosses that we have to find and beat to do that. So everything else we do is just in service of that, getting stronger, looking for the rooms, etc. But by going just around the corner here and down below, we can get the backside of the fog gate that we came in from, and it takes us to the final boss. Finding the final boss was a huge morale boost. Now all we have to do is find Malekith's arena so that we can get inside, and the challenge is basically done. Yeah, if only it was that easy. At this point we've got like 12 different gates that we know about and haven't explored, and a few more that we had seen but hadn't realized yet. And somehow not a single one of these gates is the right way to go. So we started checking all the gates we knew about. Dog room? Just a giant bug. Ew. Renala's boss room? Gary Garrus, the snail man. The Everjail in the Giant's Mountain catacombs? Nope. The boss room? Nope, just leads to itself. The Everjail from earlier? Nah. What about the Everjail in one of the other catacombs? No, there was nothing there either. Ooh, a shiny rock. By the way, it takes 45 seconds to climb this entire ladder. I counted. What about Godric's room? Nope. The gate where Loretta was, maybe? Just a tunnel. End of the tunnel? Dead end. Angie. Leaving the capital? Just more tunnel. End of that tunnel? Creepy foot lovers. Creepy bug. Phase 2? Oh god. First try, baby. Sleep pots are for cowards. Into the capital stink tunnels? Shiny rock. Try, magic? Butthole? River. Past a bunch of not ants? Another divine tower. God, there are so many divine towers in this game. What about the other path? EA headquarters. Stinky Land! Stone box? Nah, useless room. Tunnel. After hours of dead ends and not very much progress, we went back to Roundtable Hold for a bit to do some upgrading and, you know, other logistical stuff. Then we resumed where we left off and went back to the tunnel where... Oh god, not you again. So somehow we beat the real Moog with absolutely no trouble compared to the fake Moog from earlier. Another sacred tier is very nice to have as well. This room actually led somewhere, and
oh, there you are. Okay, the Red Wolf is as weak as ever. Wait, but we already fought. Is there more than one Red Wolf that's actually a boss? What on earth?
So yeah, this is where chat told me that there's actually a second Red Wolf boss. I'd forgotten that the one that's outside is actually a boss. And it turns out the Red Wolf that I struggled with earlier isn't the Red Wolf from the school. And it's actually the Red Wolf that you find outside, which is the one that I always had trouble with in my casual playthrough. Makes a lot of sense. This is apparently the one from the school, and I absolutely kicked its butt. No idea what the difference is, but at least I feel a bit vindicated now. Later we found ourselves in the Tree City, which took us to a cave because it only has one way out, and the cave took us to a dead end. Oh, I'm about to lose my mind. So once again, I was completely out of ideas on where to go. After like 40 minutes of running around aimlessly, I had the thought to see if we could open any of the divine towers with the great runes that we have, just in case any of them have a fog gate inside. And, well,
I don't think I've actually unlocked this guy, because I didn't have a rune arc last time I came here. Yeah. Oh, man. Bruh, I could have had... Oh, and my dagger too, are you kidding me? It has my favorite dagger and one of my favorite outfits. Ah. I should have come back and checked this guy ages ago. Ah, damn it. It's so upsetting. Damn it. See, I love this outfit. It's such a good outfit. I think it's the one that Melina wears, actually. But I really like it. Mine Tower. No, this isn't. No. This isn't the right way. Can we go up to the top? Wait. Because we do have the Great Rune for this tower. Can we actually go up? Wait a second. Are these... There's 3 whole gates here. I don't think we've checked those 3. And then there's the Grace and the 3, and if we carry on, we get to the interior, which is where we do all the platforming and stuff. I did the interior, but I didn't check these 3. Oh, that's okay. That's incredibly lucky. I'm not gonna pretend that I remembered these were here. But goddamn, am I glad we came back here.
The third one did lead a bit deeper. And in here, we found my favorite straight sword in the entire game. I love this thing. I mean, look at it. It looks so cool. It's a shame that it's not super effective against, you know, the final boss, since holy damage. But I love the special ability, and it definitely made exploring the rest of these areas a little bit less tedious.
There it is. Oh my god. Are we actually gonna have to do Rani's questline? I think I've been saying that for quite a long time. Like, if we find the Finger Slayer blade, we will likely need to go through that gate. So we're gonna have to go back to Rani. That's exciting. And then at the top, there's a sending gate, which I think normally takes you down to the river. But obviously it's randomized, so not gonna take us down there. And we've already been down there anyway, so we wouldn't need this to get there.
Yeah, so it wasn't actually randomized. Lame. Yeah, so I was clearly losing my mind at this point. I'd been running around looking for ways to progress for hours. This is the longest of all the recordings I took, by the way. It's like 8 hours long, and most of it is just aimlessly running around. Checking the mod page again, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't possible for like speedrunning skips or other sequence breaks to be part of the logic. And yeah, I know it says on the page that you don't have to do any of those. But wait a second, what is this? You can get to the subterranean Inquisition chamber from the Volcano Manor prison town. What? One quick YouTube video later showed me a path that I had literally never seen before. I'm not actually sure if it's part of the vanilla game or if it was added by the mod. There's no way I would be so unlucky that this one little path that I didn't know even existed is the right way to go, right? Because there were other gates that I missed and didn't know about, right? Interestingly, this took us to a catacomb that we have been in a couple times before. If you remember right at the very start, we ended up in Oriza's side tomb, though we were in a dead-end area with just some items. And then later we also ended up in Oriza's side tomb again, and that's actually where we found Melania. And now we're here for a third time. Well, there's a couple of warp chests. This one led to a catacomb, so I wrote that down and then went to check the other warp chest. And
Side tomb. This is now unlocked. Oh, we found it. Oh my god. Finally. And of course it was the one path that I literally didn't know existed. That was the solution. Because of course it was. Because this is way too squishy to be the whole boss fight. There's definitely a phase 2. Anyone does surprisingly little damage. Alright, phase 2. I don't have. It's Renala! Oh, okay. Oh, she's also very squishy. I guess that's because Oriza's side tomb links back to somewhere that we were previously? You remember how I said Barrier of Gold might come in handy against certain bosses? Well, this is one of them, if my game can stop breaking. Fuck! Took so long, so much effort, just to fight Renala. But we still have the final boss. Oh, what the hell? Oh my god, it teleported us into Redan's arena. We're fighting Rika stage 1, 2? I don't know. Oh my god, alright, let's do it.
so the fight in Malekith's arena had been a little bit underwhelming. And we decided to go for a victory lap against Rykard since the game put us here anyway. With Giant Snake it begins, and with Giant Snake it ends. With that out of the way, we were finally allowed to go and fight the final boss. We found the gate ages ago, but it had just taken us so long to find Malekith's arena. It had seriously been 10 hours of searching trying to find it. That stupid little ledge, man. But the time had finally come to see who stood between us and victory in this challenge run. I'd been worried during all of the running around that the final boss would be something lame, especially after finding out what Malekith's replacement was. But it looked like we're in for a good one.
These thorns should be gone. They sure are. Here we go. Now that is a sweet first phase for the final boss. Oh no.
Yeah, so you can tell I was pretty scared of him. Out of all of the Elden Ring bosses, Malakath is definitely one of the ones that I have the least amount of practice against. And after getting to phase 2 a few times, I decided that the dagger I was using wasn't going to cut it. Even when I was point blank rubbing my face up against his butt, sometimes I would just swing the dagger and it wouldn't deal any damage. So we went back to the round table hold and upgraded the Wakizashi that we found earlier. Can't power stance it with other daggers, unfortunately, because the moveset behaves more like a sword, but it has a little bit more reach, and the added damage will make phase 1 go faster. We also stopped by Renala to respec since we weren't using any weapons with faith scaling anymore, and we didn't need that many points in it. And so, for the last time, head in.
I did it! I got far enough away! Oh! Oh, look guys! Isn't it so exciting? We got the winged crystal tear! Oi.
And so, we reached the end of our journey. Thousands of deaths and 45 hours of gameplay later, we made it to the end. If you reached this far in the video, I would hope that means you enjoyed it. And if you did, maybe consider subscribing or dropping a like. If you do, it'll let me know that I should make more videos like this in the future.
The battle is over, I see.
I'm considering doing a second version of this same run, where some of the costs are increased and the randomizer settings are tweaked so that there's less catacombs and other single path areas. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. It was a lot of work, but I did enjoy the process the entire time. Thanks to the people who helped me, by the way, giving me feedback on this video. It's been 10 years since I made a video, so I would hope that I did a decent job. And I don't think I could have made sure that it was as good as it is without their feedback. I know there are plenty of things wrong with it as well, but hey, I wasn't trying to make something perfect, just something enjoyable. So I'll leave you here with a few bloopers. You can have those before I head out. And I hope to see you next time.
And every living soul.
Later.
Now cometh the age of the stars.
I did consider using our rune pickups that we'd found to this point in order to get the...
Beginneth the chill night that encompasses all, reaching the great beyond.
But I did have... No, I did the but thing. I gotta stop saying but.
Doubt and loneliness, as the path stretcheth into darkness.
Found a second great rune. This meant that we could finally see what the lady at the fingers has to say.
Well then, shall we?
Let's see how far we've come in the challenge so far. Oh.
My fair consort eternal.
I forgot what I was going to say.